Hey, what's up guys? I'm Justin Davis from Drone Camps RC. Welcome to a camps review. If you're brand new on the channel, this is a great video, so stick around if you're interested to learn how to fly an FPV racing drone. Or if you're looking to buy, like this would be like your very first drone, or a drone as a gift for somebody who's interested to learn how to fly drones. This is the Radiolink F121. It is 120 millimeter from motor to motor. It also comes with mode 2, which is the North American standard with throttle on the left. Now this drone right now on Amazon, it's like $200 and some, and I'm trying not to sound like a sales pitch here, but Banggood, my dudes over at Banggood, it is an overseas site. It's safe. I've used it before. Right now the current price is $129, and that's with the FPV version. It has mode 2 left-hand throttle, like I mentioned before, North American standard, and there's the price right there, $129. And if you get 20 bucks off, I'm imagining that it's going to be, you know, around $110, which would be super awesome. So it says only 5 left in stock. I will also put the link down below for where to get it on the actual manufacturer website, Radiolink. You can go right there and buy it. It looks like if you click the buy now link on their website, it takes you to Amazon or AliExpress right there. So Amazon link, and again, you can see on Amazon it's 200 bucks. So I would scoop up the Banggood one if I were you guys, because here is everything that comes along with it. It comes with a little bag, and honestly, this one is kind of like an alternative to something like the Tiny Hawk, and it might even fly a little bit better around the house. We're going to do some flight tests with it. We'll do some indoors with it, and we'll do some outdoor flying. And best of all, what's super cool is it also comes with a little monitor that goes right onto the controller. It has a controller right here. It is not a Wi-Fi drone, so the fact that this is not a Wi-Fi drone is going to let you have tons more fun with it, because, well, not only can you strap a little tiny, HD 4K cam on there, or a 1080p stabilized camera, a tiny one like the SMO 4K or the Insta360 Go, you can fly it on 5.8. So 5.8 video is awesome. That's what all of us use. So getting into the sport, it has a transmitter on here that's transmitting 5.8, and you can also get your goggles later and fly it with goggles. So start out, I always tell people to start out flying line of sight. And what I mean line of sight is just fly the quad by itself first. It has auto stabilize mode. It'll fly around super stable. I'll show you some video of both it flying line of sight indoors and how stable it actually is. And then we'll show you some indoor FPV and outdoor FPV. But so cool that you have so many options with this one versus some of the other quads out there that have Wi-Fi on there and they're super laggy. The whole point of flying FPV racing drones is to fly in real time. And that's one of the reasons why we use the analog style FPV goggles running 5.8 gigahertz. So if you're brand new to FPV, hopefully this is kind of teaching you something today. We're going to run 5.8 on 90% of the quads out there right now, unless you're flying DJI digital FPV, and that is a pair of goggles that are going to cost you around $500 to start, and the quads start around $200 a piece. So this quad right now by itself, you want to buy it bind and fly if you already have a transmitter, or you want to buy this little guy right here and you already have goggles. This little T8 I believe goes for like 30 bucks or something like that. But the quad itself, if you want to buy it bind and fly, you can get it for like $50, which is also super cool. And we're getting like 6 to 8 minutes per battery, which is crazy. These batteries are super cheap. I will put some better ones down in the link below for a 1S 650. This one is a 1S, I believe it was a 660 milliamp, but the ones I'm going to put down below are going to have a better C rating on them and will actually get you a much better flight time. And I'll put an awesome battery charger down there, because the one that comes with this one, it's okay. It's a USB charger, but it could be better. So I'm going to try to make your experience awesome right out of the gate and include the stuff that I like for this combo down below. So why don't we go ahead and start out with some line of sight flying, just right here in the house with you guys. You can see how it flies, and then we'll go do some FPV indoors and outdoors. So I'm Justin Davis. Let's do some flying, guys. Here we go. All right, guys, first things first, what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn on your radio and the middle button, press and hold it, and it's gonna turn on just like this. Now press the power button on the side of your transmitter for your receiver, for your monitor. That's gonna turn on as well. When that turns on, what you guys are gonna do is, there it's on, it says Little Pilot School. Comes up with static just like this, so what you need to do is plug in the quad next. And I'm just gonna plug in the quad. Gonna make sure that antenna is out of the way of the propellers. And these are brushed motors, but that's totally okay. I started out with very similar frames to this. When it does make a solid connection, this green light's gonna stop flashing, and you'll see that you have a live FPV view. If you don't, what you need to do is go ahead and set your quad on level surface while it's turned on. You can see it's kind of scanning through here. Now, if it doesn't pick right up, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and press that power button and press it again. And you can scroll through the different bands and channels. It has like 5 different bands on here and 8 channels per band. So are you following me? I'm gonna go ahead and press the top button there. The top plus button on the side will do an auto search. So now it's scanning through the channels on all the different bands, and it's gonna stop on the one where the camera is transmitting 5.8, okay? So now you see it's transmitting right there. And we've got a dipole antenna going. You can also upgrade that, but let's go ahead now. I'm on 25 milliwatt. As you can see right there, it has information on battery telemetry. I've got 4 volts there on the battery, and I'm on channel A4 at the very bottom left. So it also shows you the monitor's battery voltage as well. There's a 1S battery inside this bad boy. It is rechargeable by USB port on the side, but to arm this quad, all you have to do is press the stick down and to the right, and then throttle up. You can see it's going to start to throttle up. If you hear a little bit of something hitting there, just move your battery cable away from the propeller. And it's always good to like start out with the quad facing you from the rear, and then go ahead and come up into a hover. If you use too much throttle, sometimes it's going to jump around like it did then, but let's go ahead and ease up into it. Okay. Let's try that takeoff again. That was not a great takeoff, but get some good power in the motors and come up. And this is so cool because look how stable it is. I mean, that's pretty stable, right? If this is your first drone experience, you want to have the rear of the quad facing you, and you learn how to fly the quad first, line of sight, just like this. So if you learn how to fly the quad indoors like this, without hitting yourself in the face, of course, you'll be a much better FPV pilot. Trust me. So that's hands off hover. Feeling pretty good. It doesn't have altitude hold, so that's one thing you're going to have to think about. It's going to require you to fly it a little more and be a little more on the throttle, which is totally fine. But it's doing pretty good now. And the next thing you're going to play around with is going to be left and right and forwards and backwards. And then later on, you're going to incorporate some yaw into it. Now, yaw makes the quad spin around on its middle axis, just like that. So it's got a pretty quick yaw rate to it. It's not bad. I'm going to bring it back around to the rear. And so if you guys are just starting out in FPV and want to do your first circuit, so I'm going to have you do like a square circuit. So it's like a little mini drone camp tutorial here. So I usually go have somebody fly to the left and stop, and then go forward and stop. Go to the next point of your square, your imaginary square, and stop. Going to come back again and stop. And then we're going to come back to where we started off at and stop. And that completes the first square circuit to the left. Now we'll do one to the right. Come here and stop. Maintain your altitude while you're doing that as well. Come to your next point and stop. Now we're going to go over to the next point, stop, and come back and stop right here, and over here and stop. So we just did a square circuit going from left to right. So now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go out, and you're going to use some yaw this time. Yaw is on the throttle stick, and that turns the nose of the quad left and right, okay? So what I want you to do is go out, and then we're going to turn the quad around facing you. Now everything is returned like reverse. Everything is left, right, and right is left. So the right stick is going to be reversed when the quad's facing you. So that's the one thing you're going to have to learn there. But that's going to take a little bit of kind of playing around with and getting used to. You'll probably crash into the wall a few times, So when I push the right stick forward, the quad's going to come to me. Push the stick toward me, now it's going away from me. So when I push left, it's going to go right. Pushing left and it's going to my right. Okay, did you see that? Crazy, right? So everything is in reverse, just like an RC car. You guys have ever flown RC cars? When the RC car's facing you, everything's backwards. Same thing with RC airplanes. And that pretty much is learning how to fly line of sight in a nutshell. So just a little quick tutorial. To bring the quad down and land it, you also need to do the same arming procedure. Like you're going to use your, back up buddy, you're going to use your left stick, you're going to throttle all the way down, and then you're going to bring the quad, you're going to bring the arm of the right stick, left stick down and to the right. So I'm just going to give you a demonstration, like bring it down and land it on the table. And okay, so that was easy. And I'm just going to go ahead and arm it again and take off. I'm going to give it a little bit of throttle. And that was pretty good takeoff. Now I just want to show you guys like the monitor itself and how well the monitor works. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the monitor over here in front of the camera. I'm just going to kind of use the monitor to fly around the room a little bit. Super fun. I'm going to try not to crash because I'm totally distracted by trying to keep my eyes on what I'm filming for you guys and the monitor itself. Try not to hit the wall there. But you can kind of see how stable the quad is. Like, it doesn't do a lot of drifting and really kind of moving around side to side. If you see it doing that, just turn it off and restart the drone. So I'm able to kind of navigate through the house, even just kind of watching this double display here. I'm like really trying not to crash for you guys. But that's a lot of fun. So you can really learn how to navigate FPV through your house. Just like that, and there I am. You can see, there's not a lot of breakup, which is super cool. There's not a ton of breakup. And, even though we're flying 5.8 here, I did go in the other room, and we're only flying on 25 milliwatt. So I think it's doing pretty good on 25. And if you find there's a lot of static, you can just, crank it up to 200. Crank it up to 200 milliwatt. You can do that on this quad. So right there, almost hit in the wall, but made it down the hallway, no problem. The video looks pretty good, so let me go ahead and land it on the table over here. And let's do some indoor FPV flying with my goggles, and let's go ahead and do some flying outside after that. So that was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed that little line of sight tutorial, sort of quick camps tutorial, and learn how to fly line of sight first and FPV next, the holy grail of our hobby. Here we go. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and do some indoor FPV to start. Now, my first impression with this quad was that it reminds me of some of the old school ready to fly quads that came from like Horizon Hobby that were super, super stable for beginners. It just has a really easy to fly feeling. You can see it goes underneath the table, super, super precise. The yaw is a little bit fast, which you will get used to, but it's easy to find things to fly through and under and over, and it just has a great feeling on the throttle. It feels really locked in. It doesn't feel super squirrely, so I can really slow this thing down and get behind things, which is also a lot of fun. I kind of wanted to fly down underneath this Matchbox car racetrack, but I'm just gonna cruise, and show you guys just the way it flies out of the box, like not doing anything super crazy here. It does say it has altitude hold on there, but I don't really think it's true altitude hold. It does kind of move up and down in space, and you have to be ready for that when you're flying outdoors in a little bit of wind. So the benefit of starting indoors is that you're going to get a much better flying experience indoors because there's no wind pushing on the quad. So this quad can probably handle maybe 12 mile an hour wind, up to 15 would probably get a little bit sketchy. I think it would still fly because quads don't really care that much for wind, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like a helicopter. RC airplanes, on the other hand, they don't like wind at all. But drones and quads and stuff, we can get away with more wind. So, but again, this one's smaller, so if it's blowing like 15 or 20, I wouldn't advise it. It'll end up in a tree or something. But look at how crazy stable this thing is indoors. It is, yeah, and there I go, hitting stuff, and I hit the table with it, and that's a good test for the props. They did not break on me, which is really, really good. So the props are really durable even without prop guards. And where this one is so much fun is outside. So I got a little over 6 minutes flight time with my 1S 660 battery, and that's pretty good. And I'm only testing it right now on 25 milliwatt. You guys can crank it up to 200 and really get good solid video penetration when you go behind things. If you go behind your house, it's likely that you could fail safe, but the Radiolink receiver on this quad, it's really good. I flew all the way around my house in this demo, and I lost video completely at times running 25 milliwatt. I normally need 200 milliwatt to make it around the back side of my house. Some receivers on me have failed behind my house before. I've dropped to the ground, and the good news is that this Radiolink receiver did not drop. And the other fun thing about this quad is look how straight it flies, just like down the road. You can see a little bit of feedback when I get close to the power lines there. High voltage and FPV sometimes don't mix, but it flies a really straight line and really kind of lets me just cruise around the neighborhood without anyone kind of even noticing, because this is the size of a small toy, and it is really literally close to under 100 grams total takeoff weight. So the FAA requirement is around 250 grams or under for registration. So this one doesn't have to be registered, which is also awesome. But again, look how straight my lines are when I'm just cruising right here above and between these two power lines. I would never do that with an FPV race quad that was more expensive, in fear, and also the way they fly, and in fear of hitting those power lines. So I really have a ton of control with this quad. And there's not a lot of wind today, thank God. But it's cool because you can kind of get away with a lot with this type of drone. You can go play around with the tree canopy. You can fly through tree branches, and you can go in between things and really slow this quad way down. It's so cool. So you can also push full stick forward and get some good speed low to the ground. That's always kind of fun in FPV race drones. But where I have a ton of fun with these quads is going up inside the trees, and that is so much fun. But just a little more sidewalk surfing here for us, like up and down the sidewalks here. Just wanted to show you a little more speed, and the range on this receiver, it might even be about close to a mile out. So man, you could go a long ways. And right there, I almost crashed into the ground. But that stabilization on this quad is really good. Some of the other quads that I've flown, when they touch something, like one of the indoor whoops, and again, smacking a tree branch, and that flight controller is just not letting me crash on the ground. Some of the other indoor quads that I've flown, they have these flight controllers that will trip up when they're bumped. And when this one's bumped, it gets right back on it and levels out the quad. I mean, I just spun around. It's amazing that I didn't fall to the ground. Other quads I've had, as soon as they touch something indoors, they just fall, suck to the ground, they suck to the side of the wall, and we're done. But this is so cool because I can really slow things down. And let's just play around a little more with flying into these tree canopies. And right now, the video is decent enough that you can actually kind of see where you're going, and you can see these branches as you're flying through here. With these, this camera is pretty decent. And right now I'm flying the Sky Zone 030 goggles. So starting out with the monitor, it's harder to do this with the monitor. If you learn how to do this with the monitor, and then you move up to the FPV goggles, you're going to be a really good pilot. So again, kind of figuring out where I can go back in there. I'd like to. My battery's starting to get a little bit low at this point. The great thing about 1S is you can really fly them down quite low, and like another battery that has multiple cells in it, say like a 2S, and a 2S battery would just mean there's 2 cells inside that battery making up a total of 7.2 volt, 3.2 volts per cell, and then 4.2 on a full charge. So that's looking pretty good there. And now I want to go behind and down behind the house. Now this is where so many of my tests have failed, you guys. And right here, 25 is doing pretty good. I'm all the way on the back side of my house right here, in between my house and the goggles, and I still have it right here. And this is where I usually lose it. Oh my God. How I even made it this far without snagging one of these trees is just crazy. I mean, look at this. I can't even believe that. That is awesome that I made it through there. So the whole reason that I made it through there is the fact that this quad does fly really well in a straight line. I just kept pushing forward on the stick, and eventually I made it out. I want to try this gap that I've never done before. Boom, made that gap. And I'm gonna come in here, get a little closer to the house, and down under here, through those trees, by that ghost branch right there. And let's try through the legs real quick. I'm not even standing really in a very wide stance, but I'm gonna risk it anyway, and I'm just going through. Nice, nice, very nice. Extremely, extremely precise flying quads. So much fun to fly, so I'm very happy with that, especially for the price on this one. Let's go back into the studio, get some final thoughts about the F121. All right, guys, so welcome back from the flight test. That was pretty fun flying the F121. It does have a carbon fiber frame. It has a tiny bit of flex, but not a lot, not as much as you'd think. It is a carbon frame of probably around 1.5 to 2 millimeters thick. It does have plug and play motors, so if you had one of these motors go out, I used to build these from scratch in the old days, and we would solder each one of these wires down to this flight controller. It's sort of a long, old school sort of looking micro Siski style board, but this is not that. This is a modern 2021 version of this with plug and play motors, so super cool. If you break something, it's nice because you can pull these out and plug a new one in, and they're color coded. So you see there's blue here for this back rear motor and black and white here for the front, and same thing up here. They're switched around on each side, but usually have right turn rear configuration, and that's this propeller right here. It is turning to the right, diagonal from that also right, and then this one's going to be left, and this one's going to be left. And if you throw a prop off here or you break a prop, they do give you an extra set of props in the box, which is cool. And it is the Gym Fan props, and I believe these were 65 millimeter props for this particular FPV racing drone. Now they also do give you prop guards, which you will clip on, which is pretty cool. They're clip-on prop guards. You also get an extra canopy in there as well, and a battery tray. And that battery tray will easily fit the batteries that I'm going to put links to in the description for the 650s. If it is a little bit loose, put a piece of foam in there, and that'll make it a little bit tighter for you. So they are brushed motors, but for starting out, honestly, for this price, it's pretty easy to start here and then just move up to brushless later, because indoors brushed motors actually fly better, and I've talked about this on my channel. Over 10 years experience flying FPV. I gotta tell you, my best experience indoors still to this day is with brushed motors. They are just able to slow down so much more and make gaps indoors than some of the other brushless motors. So much smaller quad, and this one is a fairly large quad for flying indoors. No prop guards to start. If you're flying indoors, I'd definitely recommend putting those on. But this is the charger that they give you in the box. It will charge one battery at a time, and it has a pH 2.0 connector on here. And this is cool because this battery is fairly universal to get. So the ones that I put down below will just have a little better C rating on them, and they'll probably give you a little longer flight time. But like I said before too, you can also use alternative FPV goggles, which is great. So these are binocular style. You can put diopters in these. These are the SkyZone 030s. Those are around $200 to $300. You can also get a pair of budget box style goggles, and I'll try to put a link for those as well down below so that you guys kind of get an idea and you can look through the specs and see what you would like to kind of invest getting into FPV. Now, the other thing that I mentioned, what's cool about the Radiolink F121 is the fact that it's a good price, yeah, but it also comes with the T8 controller, and this is the newer version of this controller that can also bind multiple quads on here. And you can use an Android app to be able to go in and change the settings on this. So there is an app that goes along with the Radiolink T8, and this right here does not have the Hawkeye Little Pilot. It does not have an SD card slot, so the only way you're going to be able to record your videos is have some type of external DVR, and they actually make a really cool one. It's about the size of a wristwatch. It can go on your wrist, and you can put an SD card in there and it will record those videos for you. And those are a pretty cheap price. They're not super expensive, but I think it's cool that everything comes along with it. This bag, I was surprised. I couldn't believe that everything was in this bag, because I was kind of, when I first got this, I was expecting like a pair of goggles in here, and I'm like, holy crap, this is a ready to fly kit. This is the smallest ready to fly bag I've ever seen, and it's so cool because everything fits in here, and no goggles are going to go in here, but you have room for your transmitter in the very bottom, and this just comes off with these two screws right here. They slip out, and then you can put the transmitter on the very bottom right here, and then the quad goes above it. So this can come off super easy. Goes in just like that. You can take this apart as well. It's not going to fit in there right now, but this goes on top, and then your F121 goes in. Which way does it go in? Just like that. So props on and everything in the box. Monitor can slide down here. This comes off, and you're pretty much ready to go to your local park with this one. Now, the other really cool thing about this particular drone is the fact that it is really quiet, so it really wouldn't bother people in the park. You also get some extra LEDs on here too, in case your LEDs burn out or somehow they break. They give you a set of extra two here, and they give you the extra spring for your radio, and a radio stick switch there, as well as some extra hardware and a little tiny screwdriver, proper mover tool in here. It's carbon fiber, which is kind of cool. They're usually metal. And then you get the Hawkeye radio monitor manual, and this part's in Mandarin and Chinese. And in the very back here, we have English, which is cool. So English and Chinese, and this is the manual for your transmitter, the T8S, which is running FHSS protocol, which is also cool because you can get Radiolink receivers on just about any quads out there for FPV, for the FPV hobby. So, and you get your F121 manual. So a lot of options with this little guy. I think it's pretty cool for what you get, and Radiolink's ready to fly option. There's so many ready to fly options out there right now. I'll put my favorite top 5 ready to fly FPV bundles down at the very bottom if you guys want to check those out. But thanks for hanging out with me, guys, and thanks for flying a FPV with me, indoors, outdoors, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that little sort of miniature drone camps tutorial on how to fly line of sight. Just some simple square circuits, guys, to start and learn how to use your yaw stick, manage your throttle, and you guys will be off and running. Learn how to fly indoors first, and then take it outside. But also a big tip, keep it away from the trees, guys. The trees will suck these quads up, and then you'll have to go get a bunch of PVC pipe, duct tape them together, and get your quad out of the tree. So I've been there and done that, guys. Tricks of the trade. But take care, everybody, and hopefully you enjoyed my full review of this little tiny ready to fly from Radiolink. Finally, they have their version out. Please do subscribe for more new releases in our hobby right here on the Drone Camps channel, guys. Take care and be well. I'll see you on the next one.